This video brought to you by Surfshark VPN.
Uploading.
What is the Federation supposed to get out of all of this?
Our friendship. Isn't that enough?
Before I delve too far into my thesis on why the Star Trek universe would have been a better place with the Dominion victory, we need to first have a realistic view of who the Dominion are and what their modus operandi was. It's somewhat surprising to me that even though the writers were pretty clear with how the Dominion operated, people seem to have a misunderstanding of the government, though that's probably because the main characters had an extreme misunderstanding of what the Dominion offered. Depending on who you want to believe, the Dominion was a Gamma Quadrant superpower that reigned for anywhere from 2,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago. By the mid-24th century, hundreds of species and thousands to tens of thousands of worlds were under the banner of the Dominion. With an understanding of how long it has existed, discussing what life was like under their rule would be extremely important. Put simply, as long as you were willing to do what the founders ordered, you lived a pretty decent and good life. The only time the Dominion would commit atrocities was when a government tried to fight back. To be fair, we only have bits and pieces of what the Dominion administration entailed, but what is known is that those under the rule of the Dominion were considered member states. Member states would be required to do whatever their Vorta overseers demanded, and refusal meant that a government would meet a Jem'Hadar reprisal. Member states could be compelled to help make vessels, weapons, or a myriad of other necessities to ensure the inner workings of the Dominion continued. Some evidence suggests that these subjugated states were a part of a tiered system where some members were considered more important or they had a premier status. Additionally, the member worlds were required to live in a relative peace with each other, and trade was apparently abundant. The nations under the Dominion were also permitted to engage in diplomacy with outside entities and other governments. Indeed, the only time we observe the Dominion taking action against a member state is when the Federation used Starfleet to push Federation contraband into Dominion space after it had been outlawed. And to note, this was within the Dominion's borders. It's actually pretty likely that, should the United Federation of Planets had agreed to become a member state early, they would have been able to keep their ability to explore, as well as a semblance of the government that they once had. They'd simply have to agree to Dominion rule, and when finding other aliens, to probably report it to their overseers. And of course, they could only interact with those that the Dominion said that they could interact with. They'd simply have to agree to Dominion regulation and follow through with any requests, as well as ensure that they are within the bounds of what the changelings had allowed. I know many will scoff at the word simply that I just used, and I understand that most Western civilizations agree that you're going to be sacrificing a lot, but it's all this to say that had they capitulated, especially before any war, there wouldn't have been near the casualties that we've seen. And even if they had had the war and simply lost, Federation worlds would likely still exist, just under a harsher rule. Well, most of them anyway. Which brings us to the topic, and we're only, 4 or 5 minutes in? Let's get into it. Stardate 74359. It's been weeks since I was sent down here by the Admiral. One can only presume that slowly I am succumbing to insanity in a house infested with Borg on a primitive planet with primitive people. It's been hard, but I've been figuring out how to make it work. And there have been mistakes. Alright. Almost got it. Almost got it. Wait, what? Ha ha ha. Sid Alpha and the Black Pants Legion says hi. Don't mess with Tex.
Nuclear launch detected.
Oh no. Oh no! I probably should have used Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a premier VPN that supports single dads trying to keep his daughters fed and keeps your online information and identity safe. With over 3,200 servers in 65 countries, you can go virtually anywhere you want with peace of mind knowing that no matter where you are or what network you are connected to, you're safe. Just imagine that you are out on the countryside of British-controlled France and laying around enjoying the beautiful vistas. You're confident in the fact that your information is being protected no matter where you are. But oh no, you wanted to watch something on Netflix and you find out that 1984 is no longer a book you read in grammar school, but real life. Luckily, as a free-loving person who is beautiful and gets everything they want in life, you have Surfshark. Hit only a couple of buttons and you are enjoying the free world's entertainment. Not only that, but I personally went to Surfshark's HQ. Somehow. Okay, maybe it was only in my mind, but I convinced them to give not 3 months this time, but 4 months. And you're still getting 83% off. This is an amazing deal that is a limited time offer. If you really enjoy this channel and you want to see it continue, then you have to click in the description below or in the comments. Use code LORE and get 83% off, plus 4 months. 4. You'll be getting the best VPN money can buy. Remember, helping the sponsors helps the channel. What do you do with a broken sailor? What do you do with a broken sailor? Oh, hey! You woke up. Good. Good. It's time to go visit the Admiral.
You risked your life to bring us a message of peace and friendship. We chose to accept your offer. Would you rather we refused?
At this point, we are going to assume that the Dominion has taken control of the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Whether it was a bloody conflict or all of the major powers surrendering doesn't matter. The really only impact is the initial body count, which really isn't a big deal the farther out we go. And even with the war, after enough time, we're going to assume that ultimately things probably would have gotten better, if not back to relative norms. Well, normal under the Dominion banner at least. With relative peace, the new Alpha and Beta Quadrant member worlds would be required to work with each other and trade would begin again. Everyone would be required to play nicely, and the future of the quadrants would be infinitely changed. After all, conflict between the various powers could create an issue for changelings, could put them at risk, and the Dominion would never allow that. The new governments of the Federation, Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians, and others would become docile, if not helpful. It's hard to imagine that many disputes would ever occur. It is possible that there would be rebellions, but those would probably be quashed quite easily.
Good morning, plastic people.
Good morning, Mr. Pincus.
Let's go to work.
With these things in mind, it's unlikely that we would see a creation of synthetic beings. At least, synthetic beings that didn't have a large oversight by the Dominion. After all, creating these kinds of beings might be looked at as creating an army, and the Dominion would never allow that. It's also worth taking into account that these beings wouldn't be required. The shipyards of the Federation, should they even still exist, would be amazingly reduced in their scope and shipbuilding capacity. So there's no necessity for this workforce. And without the workforce, the destruction and burning of Mars unlikely ever occurred. On that note, the Zhat Vash would be destroyed or weakened and couldn't continue their machinations either. With the Romulans completely at the beck and call of the Dominion, so no evil robots coming to kill us all. Which then again brings us to an interesting discussion, specifically the burn.
Nobody knows if the burn was an accident or a natural disaster. But it appears that devastation flashed in an instant across all known space.
There have been many that have stated that the burn would still have occurred, but personally, I don't think that it would. Consider it, while the Federation might still have been allowed to continue exploring, in theory at least, I do think that the butterfly effect would take a role. As things change, it seems far-fetched that a Kelpian would be near a dilithium nursery. And I mean, again, think about it. A dilithium nursery is something of great value. The Dominion would have oversight, if not be mining it themselves. And it doesn't stop there. No Federation, or at least no Federation in charge, means no Alpha Quadrant and Beta Quadrant politics or tension. When the Romulan star goes nova, the Romulans could have solely focused on evacuations, if not been assisted by the Federation and Klingons. Whether the Federation and Klingons were forced to do it or they did it of their own free charge is anyone's guess. Borg technology would be at a premium, so it's likely that the Dominion would stamp out any kind of Borg trade in favor of their own scientists gaining that knowledge. Hell, even the temporal Cold War would have been stopped with the Dominion controlling everybody. After all, there can be no war if there's only one power. In the end, the Dominion winning would have prevented the destruction of Mars, the burn, and other catastrophes. All of the governments would have been forced to coexist peacefully, had they done so, had they capitulated. And with that, we wouldn't have a dystopia in the 31st century. When you think about it, everyone should have been rooting for the Dominion. But the Dominion were fated to lose, all because the Federation wanted freedom. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and remember guys, all of our lives are a story. Make yours a good one.